There isn't a drug in the world that's made me feel more high than watching a stupid Netflix show with you. You didn't see your parents love their lives. No. You didn't see them with their cups full and giving from the overflow. So you have no reference point. All you get to see is this sort of polyamorous, like travel all the time.
The patriarchy is not men. The patriarchy is. But a lot of people lump men into that.
They're like, wait, do you want like nice guy Joe, or do you want grab you by the neck and bang you in the closet Tommy? Like, what? Like, how do we? Am I right?
Oh, I want to attract more abundance in my life. That statement alone inherently says you don't have it. All right, welcome to the Love Wins edition of the podcast, where we're going to be sharing some juicy conversation on what it means to be in love, to be in relationship, to be in partnership, marriage, kids, all the things.
Why this is important is the whole self-development industry is being led, in my opinion, by people who don't have kids, who aren't in long-term committed relationships.
Facts.
And they're giving advice to people when they haven't stayed in the trenches.
Yeah.
They haven't been knocked down in their relationship, come back and met each other again. And so for me, this is super important because your complaint is your mission. And, you know, truth be told, I've had moments over the years where I'm like, who the hell is this person trying to tell other people about relationships when they don't have one themselves?
Or can't keep one.
Yes, or they run the moment things get tough.
Yeah, it's so true. And if y'all are behind the scenes in our house, this conversation comes up a lot because we will be in a moment where the kids, we've got 4 kids, for any of you who don't know, 4 kids that are all littles. And they're, you know, we had 4 kids in 4 years. And so our house is crazy. It's chaos. It is wild. It's blissfully full. And we have moments where we look at each other and we're like, it takes a certain level of nervous system work, mindset work, the ability to like stay present to actually be with this much of life. And it's hard to speak on this if you don't live it. And you know, it's one of those things that it's easy to be enlightened and to understand all of your things and to know so much about yourself, but to not have it tested in the container of intimate partnership or tested in the container of parenthood, it's a whole other game.
Correct.
Because that's when the work actually gets tested. Like, all right, cool, you know this about yourself now, but let's see what happens when you're face to face with someone and all their wounds and maybe the wounds that you imparted on them. How do you show up in that moment?
Yep.
How do you repair? How do you build intimacy and closeness from that point?
You know what's even more interesting, I think, is a lot of people get into relationships because they think they're going to solve all their problems and they're going to be, you know, magically happy and life is going to work out for them once they find their person.
Yeah, it becomes the mountaintop.
Yep. And then I think what happens, especially in the self-development space, is people do that, but they also want to keep all of the ways they used to be.
Right.
So they get in a relationship and they're like, hashtag, I think I want a baby, and like, hashtag, like, let's go. And then they like go into this baby world and they realize like, wait a minute, no, I want to be a career woman.
Right.
Wait a minute, no, I actually don't want to be a dad. I just want to play dad when it's convenient for me.
Or I want the feeling of importance and significance that parenthood gives me, but I don't want the responsibility of it. And I think that's a big aspect of that I've just been unpacking in some research I've been doing. Like, so many people want the significance of parenthood, of like, oh, I'm a mom. Mm-hmm. Like I have this baby to take care of, or look what we built together. Look at this beautiful kid that we made together. But there is a responsibility that comes with another nervous system, attachment styles, a human being that requires a lot of work, a lot of presence, a lot of attention that I think most of us, especially in our age demographic, we weren't set up for, because we were latchkey kids for the most part. So we grew up in households where our parents were working and taking care of everything and doing all this stuff. And so we had to be hyper independent. And then you put a hyper independent now adult and say, oh, now you have to have this little person who's dependent on you. And we're like, wait, I don't know how to do this.
Facts. Facts.
So it's just this interesting thing that, yes, I think we have to break down the realness of what it actually takes. Like the mountaintop isn't the marriage or the partnership. It's who I become in the process of being intimate with somebody.
Yes.
And I think if we replace that mountaintop with the mountaintop of when I find my person and when I get married and when I have the kid, then we actually can remove a lot of the pressure that couples feel as well when things aren't perfect.
Facts. Yeah, it's interesting, right? Because we have lots of examples of people we've worked with, people we've seen through the community who wanted the relationship, wanted the child, wanted this particular type of life, but once it gets here, they fold, or they hide, or they run, or
it just becomes too much.
Here's the thing, right? Everybody folds. Everybody has a moment when they want to hide. Everybody has a moment where they question whether this is the life that they thought they were signing up for.
Totally.
Let's normalize that right now. Yeah. Relationships are really hard, and kids are 10 times harder.
Yeah, they amplify all the things.
The whole thing, right? They're also some of the most beautiful space to explore your own consciousness and to be fulfilled. Like I've said this to you many times, there isn't a drug in the world that's made me feel more like high than, watching a stupid Netflix show with you.
Right.
Having our kids walk in the room for the 38th time right. and try to figure out how to get in the bed with us. Right. Like there's a special kind of high in that.
Yeah.
That I've done my work to be able to see that these are precious moments.
Yeah.
This is beautiful. And yet so many people, when it comes to bedtime or when it comes to the mundaneness of the making lunches, taking the kids to school, all of that, they can't find the gold in it. Yeah. And therefore, to me, it's that whole conversation of no small parts, only small actors. Right? It's not that your life is not awesome. Yeah. It's just you have small consciousness right now. Yeah. And I understand why, going back to what Alexi said, because you weren't taught. You didn't see your parents love their lives. No. You didn't see them with their cups full and giving from the overflow. So you have no reference point. All you get to see is this sort of polyamorous, like travel all the time, interviews on podcasts life that people sell you. But then you don't get that life. Right? You didn't get the rich parents and that setup. You're never going to be them. So how do you fall in love with this life? How do you open yourself up and really love the details and the minutia of this life?
Well, and I think that's the pervasive problem in our society in general that spills into relationship and spills into parenthood is, again, we put the mountaintop as something outside of ourselves. Mm-hmm. We say, okay, it's the relationship, it's the body, it's the business, it's the, trip to Bali where I get to live there for 3 months. It's something out here. And once I get something out here, then I internally will feel different. Mm-hmm. I'll feel better. I'll feel special. I'll feel happy. I'll feel all these things I don't currently feel now, which to me is the paradox when you think that way. Once I get something out there, then I'll have something in here. You're inherently saying, I don't already have it. And when you go, okay, well, let's not play that game. Mm-hmm. Let's play the game of I already have it. I already am it. I already am successful. I already am magical. I already am happiness. I already am joy. I already am bliss. I already am enough. When you play that game from the inside out, then all that becomes icing on the cake, but you already won the game. Like you already got it. And that's the thing I think a lot of people don't get, and this even goes into the abundance space. They're like, oh, I want to attract more abundance in my life. That statement alone inherently says you don't have it.
Correct.
And if you believe that we live in an abundant universe, that you itself are abundant, well, then you already have it.
Facts.
And then it's just a matter of exploring more abundance.
So one of the things that we do in our workshop, the Bridge Experience, by the way, if you have not done the Bridge Experience, you get to do it. It is the most life-altering workshop you will ever do in your life.
So good.
But one of the things we talk about and do in the Bridge Experience is about reclaiming our bodies back from the marketing machine.
Yeah.
And I think that's a super important place to go as a gift back to your kids, as a gift
Huge.
back to your partner,
Yeah.
as a gift back to humanity, to reclaim and regather all of the power we've given over through the years of marketing. And the craziest part is being also a girl dad now
Yeah.
and really listening to you. To me, women have it worse.
100%.
Women have it worse
100%.
when it comes to the marketing machine just drilling on them. You are ugly. You are fat. You are not enough.
Since
Buy
we're young,
this.
since we're
Right?
young, telling us who we need to be, who we need to not be, what our body needs to look like, how young and youthful we need to look, how long or short our hair needs to be. Like, we're constantly being held up against these standards of beauty that, again, place our value outside of ourselves. And so we start to self-objectify at a very young age to go, my body is where I'm useful. My body is where I'm valuable. And then we start to go, okay, what do I need to put on my body, in my body, around my body in order to become more valuable, more useful, more accepted and loved in society at large.
Okay, so watch this. I'm going to hit it back to you.
Okay.
So one of the trickiest things is the women who are aware of this become this sort of like, fuck the patriarchy, therefore fuck men army.
Yeah.
And then it like causes a further divide.
Well,
so how do
this
we...
is big. This is big because the patriarchy is not men. The patriarchy is the wounded masculine structure that we've built society on. But a lot of people lump men into that because,
Correct.
yes, men have been in power and in control. But within the patriarchy, the wounded masculine structure of society, is a cohort of women who play the same game and self-objectify. And so we are a part of the patriarchy when we play by the rules of a patriarchal system. So it's not fuck men, it's fuck the game, right? And when we cause that divide with men, we're actually saying, okay, I hate men now, or men are bad. We're actually harming and putting that energy towards the inner masculine within us as well.
Correct.
And so we have to love the external masculine and external feminine in order to love who we are as an integrated human.
Okay, so watch this, and that was beautiful. Some of those same women will have, power to the sisterhood of the traveling pants energy, but then be dating and be like, he's so weak and feminine. Mm-hmm. Right? And for men who didn't grow up with conscious masculine containment men,
Which is a lot of men.
it is a mind F for them. Because they're like, wait, do you want like nice guy Joe, or do you want, grab you by the neck and bang you in the closet Tommy? How do we, am I both? Right? Like, which one of these do I need to present to you?
Right.
And work on for myself. And so it becomes big signals for guys because they're like, wait, you rage against the machine in this direction, but you date the whack-ass dudes who are bad boys.
Right.
Like, that doesn't feel good for men. So then they're like, well, screw you guys.
Yeah.
And now we have a further divide.
We do, but I think this goes back to inherently what's happening in our culture. It's not right or wrong, but what's happening in our culture is we have a group of men, adult men, and a group of adult women who don't know how to be in our fullness. There's a group of women in my generation, my group of women who grew up with the independent woman, the woman who can do it all, be it all, have it all, the woman who is a super mom and a super wife, but also a super boss babe and like taking over the world. And we've literally placed all feminine virtues on the shelf and said, those aren't valuable in society. Mm-hmm. It is a man's world, and we're going to play by the man's rule, and we are going to play the game, and we're going to play it better. And so we have moms, like think about our moms, right? They grew up as the first generation to really step into that as women. They were business women. Mm-hmm. They worked their asses off. They worked around the clock. They worked 3 or 4 jobs. They sacrificed connecting with their kids in order to work and take care of it all and be it all and have it all, right? And so we grew up watching women of like, this is the value of womanhood now. It's in what we do, not who we be. And so now you have those women who are now starting to get real tired, real tired. We're starting to get burnt out. We're having kids now. We're like, hey, this is too much. Like, I can't do all of this, but yet we don't know how to turn off from that wounded masculine of like control, money, power, significance, that's all wounded masculine, which is the patriarchy,
Yep.
right? And now you have men that grew up with those same moms, right? Who they took care of everything. Those moms did everything for their kids. And so and they often had absentee fathers, right? So those men didn't grow up with an example of a father, the healthy masculine to contain a house, to contain a woman, to contain a family. And they had moms who did a lot for them. So they didn't necessarily have to do a lot for themselves. So they fall into the same game. And now we've got two people playing the wounded masculine game of power, money, sex, control, and going, why is there no polarity here?
Facts.
Right?
You know, what's interesting about that is, I've coached a lot of women and a lot of men, and I'm going to speak to some of the men that I've coached, I've coached couples before, and we have together as well, who the woman will say, it's like he just like always wants to like have sex, right? And what I'll often remind her of is that that's the one way that he feels alive and connected to her.
Yeah.
Or I'll say the most potent primal way, because he doesn't understand women at all. Right. And he doesn't understand women at all because women, I think you all are just starting to understand yourselves.
100%. I was going to say, but women barely understand themselves.
Right? And so now it's like, oh, wow, that's what's going on here. Yeah. Right? We were talking off camera about how many women don't enjoy sex.
A lot of women, yeah.
And this is a part of it, right? This all goes into it.
Yeah, well, there's so much required for a woman to actually enjoy sex. Like, number one, has to be a container of safety, right? Most women, and I don't want to just put this on the male partner, but most women don't have a container of safety for themselves, let alone in their dynamic. If they don't have it for themselves, they don't have it in their dynamic.
Define safety.
Safety in the nervous system is really about, I feel like I'm okay. I am safe. I can look around. I don't feel like I'm in danger. I don't have anxious energy. I'm not in fear. I'm not scanning the environment. I'm not wondering what you're thinking. And am I safe? Do you love me? All of that is a state of hypervigilance. And so how we create internal safety is we have to know, like, I have my own back, meaning I know what works for me. I know what doesn't work for me. If it doesn't work, I've got boundaries. If those boundaries are crossed, I uphold them. I leave. I remove myself. Therefore, I am always safe because I always have my back. Now, a lot of women don't have boundaries. Why? Because we're taught that we are valuable when we are nice girls and we are accommodating and we are pleasing, and you don't want to be a bitch and you don't want to be too harsh or aggressive. So boundaries become something that become, like what a bad girl would do, or someone who's bitchy. And so we stay away from boundaries and don't learn them until later in life when we're super resentful and full of a lot of complaints because we've been self-abandoning for so many years. And so safety is required, but most people think, oh, I don't feel safe with my partner. And that might be true. And we can find evidence for that. But I always ask that woman, but do you feel safe with yourself?
Facts.
Like, do you have yourself? Do you self-abandon?
Yes, because first stage, this work is, I don't feel safe. You're not making me safe.
Right. You're the problem.
And while there is truth to that.
And we can find evidence for it.
Right. Some of the biggest work and the biggest gifts we can give our partners is as relaxed of a nervous system that we could possibly get into. Totally. And so we have to self-source to the degree that we can. And then that overlap isn't such a big gap.
That's right.
Right? If I just say, nope, no self-sourcing here, you make me feel safe, then one, I'm always going to be a slave to you.
Yeah, you're externalizing your value again.
Yep. You own me forever in perpetuity because I've now assigned you as the person who makes me feel safe.
Yeah, and I'm a victim to you like I'm a victim to the weather. I can't control it. Oh, it's raining today. Oh, you're volatile today, therefore I'm not safe. Oh, you're sunny today, therefore I'm safe. Versus going, you know what? Sovereign safety is I have totally got myself. I know what works. I know what doesn't work. And I will uphold those boundaries and not self-abandon when things get hard. And I think women in sex, coming back to the sexuality piece, number one, we don't have environments of safety within ourselves first and then with our partner. Number two, we are disconnected from our bodies. So much so because we've been objectifying our bodies for years, decades, right? And when you objectify something, it is an object outside of you. And if my body is outside of me, I can't be in it having fun. I can't be in it feeling pleasure because it's out here. I'm thinking about, well, what does it look like? Well, what is my belly roll doing? Oh, am I shaved correctly? Is this happening? I'm so aware of my body as an object of my value versus my body as an experience of life itself that I can't have fun. I can't be in pleasure because I'm in hypervigilance.
Okay. This is all powerful. We will park it for right now. And close this episode with, if anything that we shared here was of value, please share this with your partner, your friends, your family. Alexi and I have been at it for a very long time, and we are committing to giving you more of this because we have some of the deepest, most powerful conversations off camera.
We sure do.
All the time. And so now we're just going to do it on camera. We love you all so much. Thank you so much. If you have not subscribed to whatever podcast you're listening to this on, whether it is mine or Alexi's or a new one, make sure you do. Please leave a review and just know that we love and appreciate you.